This is a Capital Politics Special Report, the United States-Russia prisoner swap. I'm Ethan Vargas reporting from Manila. We're coming on the air at this hour because President Biden will welcome the Americans freed from the prisoner swap in Russia. The two of them is the Wall Street Journal um, journalist Evan Gershkovich and also former U.S. Marine Paul Wheely. The president delivered a statement earlier uh, where he highlighted the importance of this release. Uh, yeah, so we are still waiting for the live feed because President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris will greet those Americans in Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. Hours ago, Vice President Kamala Harris spoke with the widow of Alexei Navalny, Yulia Navalnaya. Here's the statement of the Vice President in an X post. I spoke with Yulia Navalnaya, widow of Alexei Navalny, following the release as a result of our prisoner exchange of 16 individuals detained in Russia. Some of them work with Navalny to combat corruption and build a free, democratic Russia. I thank Yulia for her courage in continuing her husband's work and reaffirm my commitment to stand with those fighting for freedom in Russia and around the world. There's a statement of Vice President uh, Kamala Harris regarding the release, uh, actually after the release of the 16 prisoners, where she spoke with the widow of Alexei Navalny. All right, so we're still waiting the president and the vice president welcoming the uh the Americans freed from Russia. One of the historic, as far as I'm concerned, or there are some saying that this release is one of the historic, important in the uh, in the United States history. All right, so the freed Americans are now expected to arrive in the United States. It's now 11:37 p.m. on the East Coast. We're following a live shot. According here, the Americans freed are now expected to arrive in the United States. All right, the plane is now arriving and the Joint Base Andrews. All right, we will gonna take you live there in just a short while. We are following the feed from the White House, but the plane has already landed. Vice President Harris and President Biden will greet those Americans who just arrived. All right, they have already touched down. The plane has now touched down in the United States. They are in Joint Base Andrews. All right. All right. All right. Evan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan, and also Mashiva and Vladimir Karamurza is now in the United States. Their plane just landed a while ago, and they're expected to be welcomed by President Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris in the Joint Base Andrews in Maryland. Their planes, the plane have already touched down. All right. We'll be right back. You're still following Capital Politics special coverage of the U.S. Russia prisoner swap.
New Jollibee Mix and Match Combo.
welcome back to Capital Punting special coverage of the arrival of the three prisoners from Russia to the United States. Breaking news: the plane has already landed. Um, President Biden will uh, be with. All right, here's now the plane. By the way, our feed is from Reuters. We are getting this live video feed from Reuters. All right, we'll now go to the arrival. All right, so there you go. The plane carrying three Americans freed from Russia has already landed. I'll read an article from CBS News. Three Americans released by Russia in complex prisoner swap involving 24 people being held in six countries arrived on U.S. soil. President Biden and Vice President Harris is here. Here's an article from. I've read an article, or the one that I read was from CBS News. All right. So that's the plane. You can see the plane there. Um, touching down. Um, all right, we can see there President Biden walking with Vice President Harris. Uh, you can see behind them the families of the Americans freed. That's President. You can see President Biden there and Vice President Harris. All right, there we go. President Biden and Vice President Harris welcoming those Americans freed. They are now in the steps of the plane carrying those Americans. All right, there it is. Here's now the president welcoming. If I'm not mistaken, this is U.S. Marine Paul Wheely, former U.S. Marine Paul Wheely. It's now being welcomed by the president. You're now welcomed by Vice President Kamala Harris. The vice president actually, if I'm not mistaken, just already came from Texas after she attended a memorial service for Representative Sheila Jackson Lee. All right. I think they have a more longer conversation than the president. All right. Mr. Really hug the two leaders of the United States now with his wife. They're now uh, Wall Street journalist Paul Gershkovich being welcomed by Vice President Kamala Harris. Now President Biden. All right. Evan Gershkovich is a journalist for Wall Street Journal. All right. Gershkovich is now welcomed by his family. All right. Here now, Alsa Kormashiva. Alsu Kormashiva, a Russian American journalist, also being welcomed by President Biden, now Vice President Harris. They are now welcomed by her family, her husband, and two children. Actually, the president sang "Happy Birthday" a while ago in his remarks earlier on the daughter of Alsu Karmashiva. There you go, being welcomed by the president. For me, it's really a heartwarming moment for these families. All right, again, they are now in the United States. Evan Gershkovich, Paul Whelan, and also Kurma Shiva. All right, that ends Capital Politics primetime coverage of the arrival of three uh, U.S. Or Americans freed from Russia. There you see the families talking with the president, the vice president. We have Vice President Harris. The families are now talking. Uh, Really, it's really a heartwarming moment uh, for all of them. All right, that ends Capital Politics special coverage of this arrival of the U.S. prisoners from Russia after the successful prisoner swap. Um, there you go, the families are waving. All right. Our coverage will continue on Capital Politics X and Instagram accounts, also on our Threads account at Capital. For our Instagram account, you can visit at Capital Politics, also on our Threads, and on our X, it's at Capital underscore polls. This has been a Capital Politics special report, the United States Russia prisoner swap. Thank you for joining us. I'm Ethan Vargas reporting. Thank you, and have a good night.